Hi, friends, it's Eden here. Sorry to just go live without warning, but it's been that kind of a week, so I'm just going to try to fit it in where I can. But I had promised my email subscribers that I would go on and talk about this topic, so here I am. And so in the past 2 weeks, I guess it's now, Naptural85 launched her new product line called Melanin. Congratulations. She also hit 1 million subscribers. That's no small feat. Congratulations. I'm really happy for her, excited for her. She was doing this natural hair vlogging thing way before vlogging was cool. Okay. And so it's amazing to me that she's stuck with it this long, and she's really just been in service to her community. And within a week of launching, she was completely sold out. And the reason I know is that I saw it like within a few days. She had posted, I'll come back and watch the video. It was a bit of a longer video. It was 30 minutes. So I had to watch it in increments and so forth. So eventually when I went to the line to go look and be like, okay, I'll purchase the curl cream, the elongating cream or whatever, and maybe the head wrap and this and that, I noticed that things had already started selling out for her pre-launch orders. So I was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. And I expected her to do well, and I'm sure she expected to do well, but she was probably also just, pleasantly surprised by how well she did. So yeah, sold out. And I think that there's so many things that she did right, and I'd love to speak about those. I'll try to be as brief as possible, but to be honest, I have 2 pages of notes here, 2 whole pages of notes of all the things that she did right. Okay, so the first thing is, a lot of people say, oh, I don't have much money for a line. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where to start. But the thing is that starting by documenting your own journey with your skin, with your hair, with your child's skin, with your child's hair, is so helpful to other people. It's really a way to be in service to other people. It's not just about being narcissistic and being like, look at me, look at what I'm doing with my hair and what I'm doing with my skin and what I'm doing with my child. And a lot of people don't get into creating a platform or to start a channel or to just share their journey in whatever capacity they're capable of, whether it just be a slideshow of pictures that they talk over, or whether it just be, a blog, with documentation, whether it just be a series of Instagram, IGTV, where you just talk about, your process and what you're going through and what you've experimented. But all of that is being of service to your community. So as you are discovering, as you are having trial and error and all of that, and showing us your processes and showing us what worked and sharing your DIY, all of that is being of service to your community. It establishes trust. So when you do come out with your product line, people know who the heck you are. They already know what your character is like, what your integrity is like, what your knowledge level is like. They know where your heart is. And clearly she did that. So, one thing you can learn is like build your platform even before you're ready, because in this day and age of all these different social media platforms, if you're watching this, clearly you have a device that has internet connection. And on that device, there's a camera, even if you're at the library, okay, you can still talk at the library, go to a private study room and, connect your internet and do a live stream like I'm doing right now, right? So there's no excuse for anything. You can do Facebook posts. You can do so many different things. So start your platform. So that's one thing she did. And she really did it well and did it for a long time. You don't have to do it for, she's been doing this since 2009, she said. So since 2009, 2018, that's 8 years. You don't have to vlog for 8 years, okay? But if you started and you got, a good few thousand loyal subscribers, that would be enough to start, a product line that would have a following, right? So those are things to think about. She said that she failed a lot in the process over the 6 years that it took her to create this line. So for 6 years, she's been trying to create this line. And what started it was she was sharing all these DIYs. And then people started saying that, hey, I want you to make this product and sell it for me, which is usually what happens because not everyone has the time for DIY. And she wasn't feeling inclined to be mixing and stuff in her kitchen. It just wasn't feasible time-wise because she has other things. I don't know if she's a student, other works, all of those things. And she partnered with her sister, who apparently is a full-time lawyer, so she's busy too. So they wanted to go to manufacturing. And I'll get into the manufacturing story. I don't think it needs to take 6 years, but this web stream is not about that. We might go a little bit into why it took her 6 years. But in any case, DIYs back in the day. So a lot of people do not want to share their processes. They think, oh, if I share my processes, someone else is going to steal my idea. The truth is, most people are too lazy to steal your idea. That is the honest truth. They're too lazy to even order the shea butter and mix the oils, or they'll order things and it'll just sit in their cupboard for 6 months before they even touch it. And then they'll try one thing and it'll fail once. Natural said she failed a lot. You have to tweak things. When you're making a product, 1 out of 5 times will it work the first time that you do it. Most times you will have to tweak it 2, 3, maybe even 4 times before it's perfect. Okay. So a lot of people don't have the patience for that. So stop feeling so insecure that people are going to steal your idea, and, so there's that. And so she considers her product line that she just launched to be DIY inspired, because it is based on her DIYs. And we've seen her DIYs over the years, and to be DIY enhanced. So basically she's taken those basic DIY recipes that she's been serving to all of us for years, and she took them to a cosmetic chemist, and she had them enhance them with, safe cosmetic chemicals that are gentle, that are naturally derived, right? And just make them better, make them more able to penetrate, just help them work a little better. And some of these things definitely do, because you can make a homemade conditioner, but there's just something about the ammonium salts and things like benzene methosulfate and styrolconium chloride and all of these things that can help a conditioner just be more conditioning, right? So understanding that process and really doing the research and figuring out what products she was using and reviewing that she liked, right? And then saying, okay, what is it about these products I like? And then going to the chemist and saying, okay, I like this about that product. I like that about that product. And then in that dance, figuring out what she wanted to add to her DIY recipes to make it better. So she wasn't just, going there. And this brings me to my next point, which is she was not overly worshipful of, hi, Ambitious Gems Astrology. Awesome. Yes, exactly. Create your product line. Ambitious Gems is saying she wants to create her product line and have a chemist enhance it. That is the way to go, because then it's truly your own. You put your own imprint into it. And so one thing that I find is, in a lot of people I speak to, and it's kind of unfortunate, and I'm going to give you an analogy about it, but people are overly worshipful of chemists. I think that chemists serve a great purpose in the society. They do a great job, and there is a place for them, right? But I feel like you don't have to give your power over to a chemist to conceive of your line. That needs to be from you. If you put your energy into it and you put your conception into it of what you want your product line to be, and not just silly things like, oh, I want it to be this color and I want it to sit on the shelf at this way. I mean, those things are okay and important, but they are far from the most crucial things that will make your product line a success or not, because honestly, if you think of all our holy grail products, we don't really care that much about the packaging. I mean, I don't, it's just like, what's in it and how is it going to work for me is the most, it usually matters more to the person who's creating it. There are some things that we like, obviously, like functionality, like Does it come out? Is it a pump that really pumps, or is it a pump where it's a struggle pump where you're just like, just to get the stuff out, right? So it's some things like that do matter, you know, and obviously you don't want it to look like a bottle from the 1970s when we're in 2018, you know, but for the most part, that's really hard to screw up. I mean, you can figure it out pretty easily. So, you know, don't be overly worshipful of chemists. It's just like when you're cooking in your kitchen. This is the analogy I wanted to use. You don't say to yourself, well, I'm not a food chemist. I need a food chemist to approve these Thanksgiving recipes. I need a food chemist to, no, you just go in there and you cook, right? Now, if you decide that your recipes are amazing and you want to create them for mass distribution and become the next Marie Callender's or the next, I don't know what person, right? You want to create a franchise, then maybe that's when you employ a food chemist to see how can I get these little caramel clusters that I make into Starbucks, right? How can I make them in such a way that they're adequately preserved in the packaging, 1,000 people a week, as opposed to, you know, 30 people sending stuff from my, you know, commercial kitchen that I'm making myself. So that's a completely different process, you know, so don't count yourself out of the equation. And another thing is that one of the reasons it took her 6 years, she said she had to kiss a lot of frogs before she found her prince, in the sense that a lot of cosmetic chemists are really not into the natural things, you know, like if you want a completely, you know, natural regimen to heal a disease and you go to a to help you. It's not that their medicine isn't worth anything. It's definitely worth something, but that's just not how they're trained. That's not how they think. And, you know, they don't have necessarily the same perception about natural as you do, right? I'm not saying all cosmetic chemists are like that, because Lorraine, I've forgotten her name. I don't want to say her last name. It might be Delmeyer, but I can't remember fully. Lorraine from Formula Botanica. She started a school where she teaches people how to make natural products. She's a cosmetic chemist, but she's also into herbalism. So she makes everything supernatural, right? Joan Moraes, I think, does the same. So, you know, it's just like you have to find someone whose values and whose perceptions about what is harmful and what is not harmful is in alignment with you. And that process took, you know, I guess her name is Miss Whitney, Naptural85. It took her 6 years to find someone who would work with her, you know, and be willing, not be offended whenever she asked, you know, hey, could you take this out? Could it be more like this? And so forth. So that process took a while. I don't feel like it needs to take you that much. I think you would just need to start with places that obviously represented that. So start with places that have bulk bases that are natural. That's always a good place to start, because even if they can't help you, they can refer you to someone who can. All the places that you buy your supernatural ingredients, especially your natural cosmetic actives, you start there. And then either they can make the product natural for you, or they can refer you to someone, one of their colleagues in the game, who can make it natural for you. If for some reason you're starting with an order that's too big, or they're just too busy. And most people are going to be booked a year out. You know, it used to be 6 to 12 weeks, but everything is just growing so much. And there's so many people wanting to do this that now a lot of times you'll have to wait a year to go to manufacturing, right? So that's a thing. Watching from South Africa. Yay! So nice to see you, Talita Kumi. Sheila Joseph, hello. Vashti Hammett, hello. Lovely Gayalmi. Yes, that's a great idea. I'm not sure what idea you're talking about, but I'm assuming making your own products and then taking it to the chemist to enhance it. Yes. I think that it's much easier to do it that way. So another thing that happened with Naptural85. So, oh my goodness, there's so much to talk about. I'm only 3/4 through the first page, so I need to hurry this along so I don't keep you guys too long. she said that initially she was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to find a company to partner with, and I'm just going to partner with them and kind of be the face while they're like behind it and so forth. But none of these companies, a lot of which she had reviewed and promoted on her channel so extensively, none of them wanted to partner with her to create this brand. She was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to scratch that idea. But isn't that a blessing in disguise, though? Sometimes we think our setbacks, oh, this store didn't accept my stuff, or oh, this person wouldn't help me, or this person, it just means because it's not the right thing for you. Because honestly, she would have taken a much smaller cut of her profit in order to partner with those companies. They would take the bulk of the profit, and she would just get the credit, but just a slice of the money, you know? How much control she would have had over what the product looked like and felt like. She would have had less control over it too. So this way, she has full control of her product. She has full control with her partner, who's her sister, of the profits. And she has less of that pain in the neck factor that comes with having to be beholden to someone. Okay. So a lot of people have this thing about, oh, I have to be in Target. I have to be in Sephora. I have to be in Macy's. I have to be in, I don't know, whatever country you are. You have to be in Clicks. I have to be in this place. The internet has made it so that you don't really need these places. These places need you. And to be honest, most of the brands that make it in there, at least in the States, have a huge social media presence before they even get those calls to be accepted into a major retail space. And eventually most of those retail spaces are going to go away, and they're going to be bought by most of the online spaces like Amazon, like, all the places that are really making a run for the internet are going to buy out a lot of the places that we think are big places. I mean, you have to consider Toys R Us, which was the biggest toy seller in the United States for probably a few decades, right? They went out of business. Amazon put them out of business. So just kind of be cognizant that you don't need to be so worshipful of the old ways of doing business. There are plenty of companies that are selling direct to consumer on their Shopify store that you and I have never heard of, that are easily taking home six figures every year. Every year. And I mean, when I say taking home, that means profit, net profit in their pocket after they've paid their business expenses, after they've all of the things, after they've paid their taxes. That's what they're taking home. Me and you have never heard of them. They are not in Target. You won't see them at Walmart. You won't see them at Clicks. You won't see them at whoever, And you have to understand that there's tons of people in the world. You don't have to be beholden to these old ways. And so Naptural85 was able to use her platform and use the modern way of doing business, open her own Shopify store with these things. Another thing is that when you build your platform, you create a community. And she's created a community of people, and part of it is a community of people that she's created who are interested in natural things, because she's been doing things the natural way since back in the day. So she's always attracted people who are interested in natural things. She's attracted people with, type 4 hair. She's attracted people with this, that, and the other who have these interests. So she's curated a community in that, but she's also tapped into a community of like what these people are interested in. So she did one thing that was very interesting that I've been telling a lot of people to do, but it was so good to see her do it. So now I can have an example to point to. So it just doesn't sound like some crazy thing, that crazy lady Eden from the internet was saying. She has launched with four products in her line. Two of them are actually hair products. So she has a twisting cream, or like a protective styling cream, as I like to call it, that's designed for either, if your hair is staying in a protective style, or if you're going to do like a twist out or a braid out where you kind of stretch it, right? So she has a stretch curl cream, and she has an oil, a multi-purpose oil, which I'll get to. But her other two products are merch. So she has a head wrap and she has a visor. Okay. And so obviously, I mean, you see me sporting a head wrap most times because I'm always experimenting with my little clients, different curl creams and this and that. And I'm not really great at doing hair. And I don't believe in being in my hair every 5 minutes. So I'll twist and like leave it and, kind of see how the product is working and so forth. So wearing a head wrap is easier for me. Plus, I'm a mom. I like to run and go. Plus, I'm African. It's just a way of me self-expressing, So she launched with a head wrap because she knows that there are a lot of people in her community who are wearing protective styles, who don't have time for, the okie doke, who just want to maybe even express a style that's in the culture. So she did a red head wrap with a very discreet logo on it that looks like it might almost be a pattern, but when you come close, you can see the letters. It's just really classily done. It's well thought out. She really thought out the texture of the wrap, making it stiff enough so that, you can tie bows and stuff with it. But also soft enough that, it's easy to wrap, and she says how she uses it, you can dress it up, dress it down, blah, blah, blah. Head wrap, very smart and also very affordable at just $15.95. Second thing she did was a visor. Now you might think, oh, what's the big deal about a visor? I remember when I had dreads, my hair was so big, I could never wear a hat. Any hat I wore would just sit on top of my head. And you know how silly that would look, right? Like it's a fascinator for the royal wedding or something. It's like, no, you need your hat to actually go on. I couldn't get a hat to go on. Her visor has a stretch thing, so it can just sit on it can go over any size head and over any size of hair. It's very discreet in terms of the branding, like it's not like in your face, and it's really nice. So I thought that was really interesting. It's kind of really thoughtful about the needs of that community, because hair accessories for people with dreads is a huge market that is completely underserved. And at one point I even thought about, okay, maybe I should do this, but now that I don't have dreads anymore, I'm just kind of like, I don't know that I have the energy for that. But it's really something very thoughtful. And for natural hair people too, because our needs in terms of hair accessories are different from people with straight hair. So a very, very thoughtful thing. And it just goes to show you don't have to only be thinking about hair products. You can be thinking about tools. You can be thinking about a special kind of flat iron if you believe in being a natural who straightens their hair. You're just kind of avoiding perm, but you're not necessarily avoiding heat. How can you create something that's really safe for heat, right? Maybe it's children's sleeping stuff, because if you have a child and you know how hard it is to keep that bonnet on their head or that scarf on their head, or finding satin pillows that aren't just for grown-ups, that actually have kitty things on them that are cute. There's just so many different things that you can think of. Creating a travel kit for someone who's natural that has compartments that are specialized, or, a kit for, that you sell with your brand that has things like, berets and barrettes and hair clips and duckbill clips and all the little tools and things, little, rat tail combs or whatever, if you have a kids line, all the things that you would need to actually implement the use of the product properly. So those are all things to think of. And she thought of those things. And she thought of those things first. She didn't do it. She didn't wait till later. And it wasn't just like useless swag that's all about promoting her brand. It was actually practical swag that a person would appreciate to use, right? Not just about, wearing a t-shirt that says this, that, and the other, but something practical that I can use in my life. I thought that was very thoughtful, and I really appreciated that. The next thing that she did was her products are unscented. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I mean, hallelujah indeed. Okay, because listen, sometimes I have to experiment with products. Like I just went and bought 5 different products for some coaching clients of mine who want to create things and they want to recreate these things. And I had to, buy them just to see how they work. And when I tell you, it's just like, it was just overwhelming to me as a person who usually does natural, only likes natural scents, to just smell this flowery stuff, the whole time. Like, it was overwhelming. I was like, how are people wearing this? You know, not everybody likes every scent. I will go for an unscented product all the time over a scented one if it's not scented with essential oils. A, because it's safer. B, because I don't like every smell, you know. C, because people are often cocktailing products from different brands, right? And not every smell goes with another smell, you know. And so if everything is scented, it's just too much. You know, you can totally do unscented if you want to. And then the person, you know, you can have a little small perfume oil that people can add to the sealing oil or something, if they want their hair to smell a certain way. But I feel like it's a brilliant, brilliant move in terms of product safety and in terms of convenience for everyone. There's so many males now who have natural hair, who are sporting, who are not just wearing a fade and just calling it a day, but who are doing braid outs and twist outs and this and that. Do you think they want to walk around smelling like flowers all the time? No, they don't. You know, so stop feeling like your product has to be, and that's another thing. Men need to have their own lines of product, more products for natural hair that are geared towards men. But yeah, you don't have to scent the daylights out of everything, you know. Sometimes it's just too much. Sorry, there's a whole bunch of new comments on Pauline Tom, right on time. Yay. Hi, Pauline. Sheila, I make my own products and I have not gone to a chemist. Good for you. And there's nothing wrong with going to a chemist, but go empowered. Okay, go knowing what you want. Don't let the chemist decide what you should have or what you should want, you know. Yes, a blessing in disguise that they didn't want to work with her. Is it mandatory that you go to a chemist? No, it's not. I think that just at a certain size level, if you're making, you know, hundreds upon thousands of product in a short amount of time, it makes sense to go to a chemist because they can make the product quicker for you for distribution if you can't afford to open your own factory and buy the equipment and so forth. I think that you absolutely can make it at home. It's legal to make it at home. And that's what makes this business such a great beginner business, because there's a low barrier of entry. Anyone can just buy shea butter, mix it with some oils and sell it, you know, and that's totally legal. You don't actually need a license. Yes, a no could be the biggest heartache and blessing at the same time. That's right, Dominique. You're not lying about that. Yes, take advantage of the internet. Lovely Gail me is saying. And Jonathan Brown, hey, Eden, that's actually my idea, to have a men's line. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. You are a man and you know you must have natural hair, but there are no men are having to use these women's products, you know, and men really, you know, need something that's a little more low maintenance than the women need. So, you know, yeah, the men's thing is really a huge thing. So I'm glad you're thinking about that. Talita Kumi says, I love a head wrap and cap idea since I'm always wearing it. Exactly. A lot of naturals are always wearing those things. To enhance their style, it's just kind of like a different thing. And sometimes just, you know, sometimes just to stretch a style, right? To make it more usable. I always wondered if your product need to be certified. It does not need to be certified. You know, I think that if you're at the point where, this is what I advise, if you're making something that's obviously not like an oil blend that has no water or anything in it like that, and you're doing some kind of emulsion product, when you get to the point where you're starting to be in a lot of places, you can go and have your product tested. Just Google cosmetic testing, labs for cosmetic testing or something like that. You know, cosmetic lab testing, or, you know, stress tests for cosmetics, and just a whole bunch of labs in your area, or just in general. It doesn't have to be in your area. You can just mail it to anywhere in the country, right? Should show up. Contact some of these companies that sell ingredients, right? and figure out what they recommend in terms of lab testing, or if they provide it. Some places will actually sell you kits where you can test your product at home, just to make sure that you've preserved it well enough that bacteria isn't growing, and that's sufficient. So there's no certification per se that is required, you know? But if you go to a chemist and you have a lab manufacture your product, they're going to take care of all that for you. And so at a certain size level, like if you are a person who already has 30 grand just lying around and you want to go to manufacturing right away, go to manufacturing. You don't have to make it yourself. So spend that money on manufacturing. But I would say that spend the initial bit on research on your own, figuring out what it is you want to create, figuring out which niche within the natural hair community, or within the natural skin community, or within the mama baby community that you want to serve. Just figure those things out. Fall in love with some ingredients so that you can incorporate them in your line. Figure out some combinations you like, and then approach a chemist. You're going to save some money because they're charging you by the hour to create stuff from their imagination. So you can go ahead and limit their imagination at the very beginning, and then, have them work on your template. And then, you can use the other money to create a really great Shopify store and do some marketing and learn about those things. I think it's worth it to invest, in some courses or whatever, to learn about those things. And there are a ton of people teaching that stuff now. So there's nothing wrong with going to manufacturing. I'm just saying that I don't want people to think that if they can't afford to go to manufacturing right away, that somehow their product is less legitimate, or that they need to be overly worshipful of chemists. It's like there's a place for everything, and just because you're not a chemist, it doesn't mean that somehow you're less worthy. And most of the successful brands that we like that are now made by chemists in the lab started off as DIY, or they started off messing around in their kitchen and that sort of thing. So don't be intimidated by that. I'm just going to read a few more comments before I go on to the next thing, or else this live will be 6,000 hours long. Wow, I didn't know it's totally legal. Yes, the cosmetics industry, Ambitious Gems, is so underregulated, which is both a good and bad thing. But for our purposes, it's mostly a good thing. You can totally just make stuff. The only thing that you might need a license for is if you go to a farmer's market, they're going to want to know that you have a business license, which you can get from your local municipality, right? So just go to the municipality and have the correct license for selling stuff in your city at a venue, right? You might need. If you're selling on the internet, you don't even need that, If you're making less than $10,000, you probably don't even need to declare it, So once you start getting to, you're making several $1,000s, then you want to get a tax ID and that sort of thing so you can be legally legit. But yeah, it's so underregulated. It's a quick and easy way to make some extra money. Hey, you have such a motivational spirit. Bless you to providing such valuable information. Oh, thank you, Jawun Ahmoud. And thank you for, being inspired to learn about these things so that you can either help yourself or help someone else with the info. So thank you so much for watching. You guys are lucky. Where I am, cosmetics are highly regulated. I can't just mix stuff and just sell. We'll keep at it though. Okay, yeah, that's fine, Pauline. I understand. Maybe you're in a country where it's highly regulated, but that does not prevent you from mixing stuff, and maybe you don't sell it, but you can use it on yourself, use it on your family, use it on your friends, get some real and proper feedback so that when you have the resources to go to a manufacturer, right? Or maybe you build your platform and eventually you attract an investor, you have an idea of how these things work. It's not just some mystery in a box where you just don't know how it works and you're just so intimidated by it. So, you can always start where you are. There's always a value in learning these things. So, just always try to find a yes to what you're looking for. Don't allow yourself to be closed in by no's. There's always a way. All the people who started at some point were closed in by the regulations. How did they break through? You know, so just kind of keep that in mind and keep that in your spirit as you're working on it. Jawoon is in the process of creating a more unisex, simplistic hairline. Awesome. A lot of products can become a little intimidating for us guys. Yeah, you know, guys don't want to do the science experiments that we ladies do sometimes, where we have layered 5 different things in our hair. They don't want to do it. So, you know, be cognizant of that when you're making stuff for guys. All right. So, so this is another thing. This woman knows her ingredients. You can tell that she did it herself. She knows her ingredients. And she said one of the reasons why it took her 6 years, because it shouldn't take you 6 years. I think that if you're going to manufacturing, 1 to 2 years is a reasonable amount of time. But it took her 6 years because she had to fight with a lot of chemists, because they kept trying to tell her to put stuff in her line that she didn't want, or she'd ask for things to be taken out and they'd be offended, or they'd say they could do something and then she'd find out later that they couldn't do it. Who's to say that they were willfully deceiving her? It could be that they just discovered down the line that they couldn't do it. I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions about what happened. I try to assume the best in people. But she knows her ingredients. And so she goes into it. She breaks down the ingredients in her twisting cream. And of course, there's some sciencey names. But sometimes sciencey names don't necessarily mean that it's not natural. Because soap, just a regular plain old soap, whether it be Castile soap, whatever, is made by a very scientific process where oils are broken down with water and lye to make soap. The lye completely disappears in the process, and you're left with soap and glycerin and water, right? And so that process is very scientific, but the resulting product is completely natural. So there are a lot of other things. She calls them synthetic actives. I prefer not to use that word, because once you start using the word synthetic, you're like, oh, are you talking about silicones? What are you talking about? I prefer naturally derived cosmetic chemicals, right? That are also made by this process, where coconut oil might be mixed with something that's, you know, very chemical in nature, but the resulting product is something really gentle and really beneficial. So things like cetyl alcohol or the fatty alcohols. And she has a bunch of different things like that in her twisting cream, and she understands it. So she's able to address it when she's talking to people, saying, hey, I want to use your product, but I can't because it has alcohol. Well, hey, listen, this isn't rubbing alcohol from the dollar store, okay? This is a fatty alcohol that's been created by this and that process, blah, 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 blah. So she can speak to it. And this is important. So you're, you know, a lot of times when you just hand your power over to a chemist, like, oh, here you go, you know, they might ask you to put in things that you don't understand. You have to understand everything that's in your product. You need to understand it. And it's easier to understand it if you've kind of drawn up the template. Obviously, there are going to be new things that are added for stability or whatever that you don't understand, but you can do the research. But that shouldn't be like 90% of your product is a mystery. That should never be the case. You should never hand your power over like that. And she did not, you know. And so I have full respect for her. And I can tell that she did not, because a lot of people who would be her colleagues in the game did, and they never ever talk about their ingredients, because they don't fully understand them. You know, they never talk about the ingredients. They only talk about what their product can do, and I find that pretty interesting myself. So she said that she created this product. She's kind of averse to coconut oil lately. So she doesn't use coconut. If you've been watching her channel for a while, she doesn't use coconut oil. Her hair doesn't like it as much as she would love it to. You know, she has nothing against coconut oil, but it doesn't work for her. And so she used sweet almond oil in place of coconut oil in some of her things. And she said, I see you, nut allergy people. I'm sorry, this is just what we use now, but I have some ideas for some things for nut allergy people. So she's being really sensitive and cognizant of her community and listening to the feedback that people are giving. Listen to your feedback. Don't just throw a product out. And if someone gives you feedback in a kind and respectful way, you can tell when someone's being a hater or being rude and disrespectful, but when they give you feedback in a kind and considerate way, to really listen and engage with people and say, you know, yes, I hear you. I'm going to try and work on that. or this is why I can't work on that, but I'm going to look into some resources for you that you can go to instead. But just kind of love on your community. And she's really, really good at doing that. So that's another thing she's done really well. She created a multi-use oil. So the oil you can use to seal, you can use to treat, you can use to enhance a conditioner, you can use it for multiple different things. So multi-use products are really a huge thing that are an underutilized opportunity. A lot of times a product line will have a multi-use product, but they won't advertise it as such because they're afraid of losing sales. So they could have a conditioner that works as a co-wash and as a leave-in, but they won't tell you that it does. They'll just say this is a conditioner. Then they'll sell you a co-wash and a leave-in. So I think that if you have a product that's multi-use, you should say, hey, you can use it for all these 3 different things. You know, I also have a co-wash and I also have a conditioner, but if you only wanted to use one conditioner, this is it, you know, or just create your product line to only have multi-use things in them. You know, have your shampoo be a hair and body wash, have your hair lotion be a hair and body lotion, have your, you know, those are possible things that you can do. And when you understand how these ingredients work, you start to understand the marketing game that is put upon us, where they keep selling us bubbly stuff and calling it 14 different names. So we can have 14 different products that are really the same thing in our house for, well, this is for my dishes, and this is for my bathtub, and this is for my hair, and this is for my, you know. So just kind of being honest with people and doing that is kind of interesting. I'm not saying you always have to do that, but it is a way to go. Okay, so this is something that she did, and I'll tell you how she did it right. She made really large sizes that are budget friendly by keeping her ingredients relatively streamlined. That she knew that she really wanted to go into the budget conscious thing. She didn't want to make a 4 ounce that was $24 or whatever. And there is nothing wrong with making a 4 ounce product that's $24, because people buy those all the time. Just go to Sephora, just go to any of these places and you will see. But I think that with these natural products, a lot of times it's either or. You're either going to make a budget friendly thing, or you're going to go high end. And for most people, I recommend that they start by going a little higher end. And if you want to go higher end, but you're afraid with your pricing, one of the things you can do is create really larger sizes. And instead of going 6X, go 3 to 4X, you know, on the really large size. And then people are getting a tremendous value. So you have a teeny size that's super expensive that they can try to see if they like it. Then they have a budget size that is like buying 3 or 4 regular sized containers, right? But at a price point that where if they were to break it down, it would be like a more regular price, but it's still a good price for you, because once you start making ingredients yourself, you're going to be using quality ingredients. And so those are all factors that are going to come into play. So she kind of has a focus on creating budget friendly. She said, if I can't make it budget friendly, I don't want to make it. And so she designed, that's a parameter she put on herself, you know, to create that. So there's certain ingredients that will never appear in her line because it's budget friendly. You probably won't see prickly pear seed oil in her line. You probably won't see hibiscus seed oil in her line, but you'll see other things, you know, that are still really good in her line. They're just not going to be as expensive, right? In order to stay in that budget friendly zone. So, you know, you need to choose a lane and stick to it, right? And always price yourself in a way that you can come down later, right? So she did that. She picked a lane and she stuck to it. Oh, this is the part that I love the most about her line. Full disclosure, full transparency. So there's this trend that I've noticed that is so annoying, where people will create a product line and they'll put their product line up on, you know, like a little Shopify store or whatever, right? And then they won't tell you what's in it. Like they sell you this product right here, and let's just pretend this is some fancy product and not just water. in a glass. But they sell you this product, and then they just say it features almond oil, aloe vera juice, and mango extract. But I can tell it's a cream. I know it has a ton of other stuff in it. So you've told me what the three main featured ingredients are, and they might not even be main. It might be 2% is one thing, and 5% is another. The rest is like distilled water or something. But you don't tell me what's in the product. So if I were to buy, I would never buy that product. That's sold to me without full disclosure, right? But someone gets the product at their house, then they realize that there's an ingredient in there that they're allergic to, or it's scented in a way that they don't like, or it has a certain ingredient in it that they know does not work for their hair, or this, that, and the other. You have to empower people. It's really insulting to say, I'm selling you a mystery package. My general response to that is, how dare you? How dare you? I'm not buying from you. It's like you have to tell me, let me make a decision about whether I like this or not. I will scour your site if you've fully disclosed things to see if there's something that I like that I can at least support you with, but you can't disempower consumers that way. So she's created her site, obviously with full disclosure. And not only that, when you click on her ingredients, every single ingredient is clickable. And when you click on that ingredient, it'll take you to a page, an ingredient page. And I've told people to create an ingredient page forever. And I even had one guy argue up and down with me, well, people are going to steal your idea. You can't disclose everything. Da, da, da. But we're moving into a world where everything needs to be disclosed. People want disclosure. That is like the next world that we're in. So when you click on her ingredients, it takes you to a page that tells you what that ingredient does for your hair. Tells you what it is, what it's derived from, and I would go one step further. I would even say, if you have a country that you're sourcing it from, if you have a process in which it's extracted, like if this is cold pressed, this is solvent extracted, this is derived from this and does that, just as much as you can, so people can make decisions about things that they can live with, and they're not just kind of subtly doubting things, especially with the chemical names, because people are intimidated by chemical names. I never realized the degree to which they're intimidated until I started teaching. I was like, wow, people are intimidated by anything that's sciencey and mathy. They're kind of like, so help them out so they don't have to do too much work. And that will actually make people buy from you more. And just because people see an ingredient, they don't know how much it's mixed. I'm not saying put the percentage of your recipes in there. That's a completely different story. It takes work to get to that. So, and honestly, if you're that worried about hiding things, what is illegal, Ambitious Gems was asking me, you didn't know it was legal to mix. What is illegal is to create a product and not fully disclose on your label everything that is at 1% or more in that product. So you have to disclose it on the label anyway. So they could just take it to a cosmetic chemist. They have a process called reverse formulation where they put it in I don't know if they do a gas chromatography or what process they use, but they can actually calculate the percentage of each ingredient that's in there. They might not be able to break down, okay, olive oil, castor oil, this, but they can say, okay, it has this much oils, it has this much cetyl alcohol, it has this much surfactant in it, it has this much. They can break that down. So someone who really wants to copy you is going to copy you anyway. And if they copy you and they outsell you, well, you probably deserve it because you weren't doing things the right way in the beginning. So just do things in the right way and trust that what's meant for you is meant for you, and that there really is enough for everyone, for all this to go around. Okay, so I'll look at the comments before I go into the last 4 things. Let me see. Okay, so there's just one more. Both of you have a bubble. SS, it's not fair. I'm not sure what that means, Sir Blumpkin, but maybe it's maybe you're just saying that it's not fair that in the US it's so underregulated. I don't know. Maybe that's what you're saying. Yeah, it's an advantage, and not enough people are taking care of it. taking advantage of it, believe it or not. So just because someone has an advantage, it doesn't mean that they know how to use it, you know? So just know that wherever you are, there is some kind of advantage that the internet has afforded you, and that you can work that to your advantage. Okay, so the next thing that happened is do 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 okay, so she's very into service first. One thing I don't want to criticize Whitney at all, because she's done a lot of great things. But one thing I've noticed that she does do from time to time is that anytime there's an opportunity for her to monetize her audience or to make money from her audience, sometimes she'll apologize, you know? And I'm just like, you don't have to apologize. You clearly are a service-oriented person, you know? You deserve to make some money off of all the effort you've put into educating us for free for all these years. You know, so anyway, she says, I don't want you to worry that because I have this line, all I'm ever going to do on my channel is promote my line, promote my line, promote my line. Obviously, she's going to have some tutorials with her product line. However, she is also going to still promote other people's products. And what I do like about that, it just shows that she's very secure in herself and in her product line. And she also is not living under some illusionary blanket where she thinks that her product line is the only line in the world and it's the best and no one else is. It's like, you know, don't be ridiculous. Like, there's tons of things that can complement your product line. And people like to switch things up. Nobody wants to wear clothes from the same shop only. I mean, there are a few people who do. Most people like to switch things up, you know? So she's giving people an opportunity to switch things up. And, you know, she's respecting her blogger roots. And she's, you know, just, it helps. I think it enhances her line that she is able to partner and promote other lines more than it takes away from her line. So I really respect that. And she's the only person I've seen who's willing to do that. So she's really oriented to service. She's like, what would serve my community the best? You know, and that's what she does. So we talked about the merch already, and her smart branding with making her, and I'll talk about branding a little bit. She really had a vision for her branding and so forth. And it is lovely. And I think that what she did with the head wrap of making it, like it says Melanin N85 in really small letters, and it kind of goes round and round. And so it looks like, from a distance, it looks like a pattern. And then up close, you can see what it is. And she said that, you know, most people don't want to wear other people's brands on their head. So N85 is just kind of a subtle nod to Natural 85. So people who know, and people who don't know won't question. It's literally what she said, word for word. And I thought that was really smart. But for the most part, I think some of you obsess so much about branding. It's just like she went into a whole 5-10 minute spiel about her brand and what she thought and what it represented. And I was like, that's fine. But what was most interesting to me was that it was her. I understand her character, her integrity, her service that she's brought to this community for years. She's been vlogging way before vlogging about natural hair was cool, right? She's been serving us and serving us and serving us. And that's what I see. She could have just wrapped it in a plastic bag and been like, well, I'm shipping these plastic bags of product. I'd be like, okay, cool. What's in it? You know, I think people obsess too much about branding without actually doing the work to create a brand. You know, the brand is that feeling, that connection that you have to the people behind the brand, to the message behind the brand, to it's not just the aesthetics. So your brand can be as cute and flashy as possible, but if you haven't done the work to build a community, if you haven't done the work to connect to that message, if you haven't done the work to serve your audience, it doesn't matter how flashy it is. No one's going to care, you know? And the thing is that if you've done all the work, the right work to build the right things in place, to create the community, to give service, to give value, to deliver all the time in that way, you know, and you have a following and people are buying your product, if Target comes calling or Sephora comes calling or whoever comes calling, and they want to stock your product, they will actually give you tips on what you need to do to make your branding acceptable for their store. I've seen it time and time again. I have friends who've launched in other areas who are now in every health food store, Whole Foods, this, that, and the other. They launched in the food space. They've launched in the natural. I have a lot of crunchy friends who are entrepreneurs. They've launched in the natural diaper space. They've launched in different spaces. And when they were ready to make that move, Whole Foods actually gave them tips. Okay, this is what we need your packaging to look like in order for you to be acceptable in our store. And they went and fixed it. But Whole Foods already said, yeah, I give you the nod, because they're looking for that community-driven, message-driven, quality-controlled kind of thing. And that's what you have power over. The branding and the messaging, is a good, but it's not going to be the make-all, break-all of your brand. That's not going to be the reason that you fail, So obsessing over it to the point that you don't even start your business because you're still thinking about your logo and your name and copywriting this and copywriting that, and you still don't even know what cetyl alcohol is, makes no sense to me. But, both of you have a bubble. Oh, okay, wait. I've read that already. Ambitious Gems. Oh, thank you, Ambitious Gems. Thanks for sticking with me this long. It's been 56 minutes, almost an hour. I think I'm done ranting and raving about Melanin, which is the new line that Naptural85 has created. Go over and watch her introductory video to her line. I will link it in the description box when this live stream ends. And, say hello to her, congratulate her, thank her, give her a shout out. She's done a lot to advance our community, and I'm really happy for her and grateful for her. And I hope you guys go over there and show her some love. But I saw that and I was like, you know what? There's so many lessons here for our community of aspiring beautypreneurs that we can learn from that. About how to be open-hearted and how to not be intimidated by others and how to be trusting that what is for you and how to cooperate and collaborate with other people and how to create a quality product that actually serves people. She sold out like that. I was too slow. I don't know if I was procrastinating or I was just too busy or what, but I went back to go get the curl stretch cream, gone. I'll go back and see if the head wrap is still available at least. Maybe that's sold out too now. But yeah, congrats to her. So it looks like you guys don't have any more questions and I've addressed all the comments. Thank you so much for watching. And at some point this week, I want to come back and do a masterclass on fragrancing with natural fragrance, because that seems to be an issue and I get that question a lot. And so it'll be nice to have a video I can just refer people to and say, hey, go watch this if you have questions on that. And yeah, and also maybe it'll give me an opportunity to buy some things. I really don't buy things that have fragrance in them unless I'm buying it to experiment for one of my clients. But other than that, if it's not unscented or if it's not scented with natural things, I just make it myself. All right. So take care. And yeah, if you're watching the replay, I hope this replay finds you well. For those of you that are on here, please have an amazing week. Feel inspired, feel connected to your dream. You can totally do this. And just start where you are. And even if where you are is starting by doing research and building a platform, that's a start. But just start and keep moving forward. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.